You're listening to the Hope Not Nope podcast
with Doc Dylan
and Brandy.
We empower high performers with a three-part strategy of hope,
Self-agency, goals, and proven frameworks,
so that you can reach your potential
and the highest quality of life. How's it going? At the Hope Not Nope podcast, we answer listeners' questions. And so if you have a question for us about high performance, leadership, really anything, we love to answer any type of question, you can head over to our website, hopenotnope.org, and submit a question. So let's dive in. This question, our listener Julie said, I have the tendency to take over and do everything myself because I think I'll get it done better and quicker than with the team that I'm working with. I recognize that this is something that I need to work on, but I need some help. Do you have any tips that I can use to delegate and to trust my team more?
Thank you for the question. And I remember we were speaking at a conference, and the line that we used is, I can do a lot, but I cannot do everything. And the first step is understanding the acceptance of that statement, that you can do a lot, but you can't do everything. And I think starting off, whether it's starting a business or sport or leadership position, that early on you do have to do everything. And I think that's a great learning period that happens. I think it allows you to make some mistakes so that when you get people in that role, you have a little bit more gratitude for them, and you have a lot more forgiveness for them, because they might start freaking out and, I can't believe I messed this up. And you go, oh, yeah, no, I've been there. And trust me, I messed it up a lot worse than what you did, but thank you for your honesty in that. But no, you're good. So I do think as leaders, you have to go through that process of wearing different hats at some point so that you have a better understanding of what the responsibilities in that position are, what the stress is in that position. And it allows you to be a better leader in the future. So I think at some point, as a leader, you do have to do a lot of those things to have an understanding and have better conversations so that later on you can build your team to be even better. But then it gets to a point where you can't keep doing all of those things. And you've learned how to do them. And you start to get this illusion that you can do them better because you've been doing it. But the reality is, you have the ability to hire an expert or to build someone on your team to take over that position. They're going to see it through a different lens that's going to allow it to propel even further if you allow them to, and if it's done appropriately with the right set of progression. So that set of progression I'll dive into now, but I think it's 3 different levels of identification. So the first level of identity is identify who. The second level is identify what. And then third, identify when. So who, what, and when. And we'll dive into each of those 3. So starting with who. Does that person actually want to be in a leadership role? Do they want the things that are being delegated to them? Or are you making an assumption and putting it on them, but they never wanted it in the first place? Or have you had the conversations with your team and that person that have said, hey, you're showing a lot of leadership capability, and I think you'd be really, really great in this role if that's something that you're interested in. Because if you're interested in it and I'm interested in you being in that, wow, we have a great relationship for this thing to grow. Versus saying, hey, you've been doing a really good job, and so I'm going to promote you and you're going to be in a leadership role. And the person was like, look, I never wanted to be in a leadership role. I want to come here. I want to do my job the best that I can. And I want to go home and not think about it.
Yeah.
Like you have to know up front of who are you delegating this to. So identify who. Do they actually want to lead? The next is identifying what. What do you want them to lead, and what do they want to lead? If there's a mismatch in that, there's going to be friction.
That's so valid.
If there's more friction, there's way less momentum growing in leadership. So you have to identify what. What do you want them to lead, and what do they want to lead? And then the third level of this is identify when. When is this happening? Because maybe that teammate already has a bunch of projects on their desk that they have to complete before they can start taking over a leadership role.
Mm-hmm.
Because taking over a leadership role, we have to remember how much learning has to happen in that position. It's not just you doing the job anymore. It's you coaching other people to do this. And although the task is the same, personalities are different. The way that people take feedback is different. So now you have to have different coaching styles, and you have to be able to keep yourself centered as you're doing this. And if you have a ton of other projects going on, you're not setting them up for success to be able to take over that role of when. And I want to go back one more to the what too, because speaking of that, if they have all these projects and they have all these things coming up, like having a clear time frame of, hey, this is when we're thinking about growing you into that leadership position. Are you interested? Cool. Well, now you have to identify not just that they're interested in and that you're interested in them in that role, but what are you trusting them with first? Trust with a little, and then you'll be given a lot, right? Use that strategy. Trust them with something that's not high risk so that they can get their feet wet. Once they get their feet wet, now start building it up to those higher risk projects. Don't just throw someone in the pool, hope that they can swim, and then go, oh, another fail, guess I have to do it. No, you didn't set them up for success. Like, start with something small that if it's not done well, it's a teaching moment, but it doesn't hurt the company or the team. If they do well with that, hey, you've earned more responsibility. Let's build you up even more now.
I just really relate to this question in a lot of ways in previous work that I did, because I wasn't like the owner or the CEO or anything, but I did have a leadership role and I had a team of people under me. And the hardest part was trusting and delegating, because I genuinely knew that I could get the job done better and faster, and like all of my responsibilities would be done efficiently. But I was taking the personal development of those team members away from them and it wasn't even a control thing. It was just like I know how to do this. I can get it done in 5 minutes where this person might take 3 days. And to me, that just seemed silly. But I was taking away their opportunity to grow more and to develop more in their personhood. And for a lot of my team members, they were right out of high school. Like, they were young kids. This was their first, I guess, job, if you will. So they were learning literally everything. How to work in an office, how to dress in an office, how to communicate in an office, like how to communicate not in an office. And so to me, there was times where I was like, this is just a waste of energy and a waste of time. And my most challenging part in it was when I finally did delegate. I did not enjoy having to look to see if they did it right. Like, to me, that was such a waste of time, because I'm like, I told you how to do it. I walked you through it step by step. I shouldn't have to then go check your work, but you have to check the work, because the reality is they probably are going to do it wrong the first few times, depending on, depending on what the thing is. But I think a lot of my, a lot of the reason why I had that desire to get the job done myself was because I saw everything as urgent. And a lot of the times, the things that you're doing aren't always urgent, and certain things can take time for your team members' personal or professional development. That was something that I had to learn. But, advice for this person, I loved the identifying all the things you just said, but also, like, maybe start delegating the things that don't have an urgent timeline. Because then there's the wiggle room for the mistakes to be made, for the training to be done, and the help to be provided if that were to be the case when you're delegating to a team member. Because everything is not urgent, and we look at things as like, it's urgent because it's easy, and if it's easy, I can get it done faster, and then it's gone off the list. But the reality is like, it's probably not that urgent, so you can take the 5 minutes it would have taken you to do the task to train the person, and then you can go back and follow up, which, again, I struggled with that part, but it is important. It's very important when leading a team that you follow up, but,
and it was Julia that submitted it, right?
Yes.
And Julia, remember that you're delegating to a human.
Yes.
There's a lot of AI that you can delegate to.
That's true.
And it'll do a good job. and you can treat AI a little bit differently than you treat a human. But when you're delegating to a human, you have to put yourself in that person's role. And let's say you've went through those 3 levels of identification of who, what, and when. Now put yourself in their position. They wanted this leadership role. They're excited about it. They know what they're going to be leading. They know when it's going to be happening. They don't want to let you down. Mm-hmm. So they have nerves. They feel the pressure with it. And we hear all these motivational talks of like, rise up to the pressure.
Yeah.
But we forget that mistakes are going to be made, and mistakes have to be made in order for the learning to occur. And this person that you just delegated to, they want to serve you so well because they see how hard that you have worked to get your team into a position that you can delegate this role. And they want to show you that, hey, I see what you're doing, and I'm with you. I'm part of this team, and I'm going to help us lead too, and I'm going to do this. So they get so laser focused that they dial in a little bit too much, and they might miss some of the simple things that seem like common sense.
Yeah.
But you have to remind yourself of that was just because of how well they wanted to perform, that they just lost the general perspective and got too specific. And good leadership is taking generalized perspective before specialized testing. And they just forgot that because of how well they wanted to perform. Now, if we have a person in that role that makes that mistake, that they were so focused on the performance and the leadership of what you talked about that they forgot something from a general perspective, that's the person I want to coach. That's the person I want leading a team. That's the person I want to sit down with and say, hey, you did really good.
Yeah.
And there's potential for greatness. We just got to deal with just being able to take that pressure down a little bit and keep the general perspective.
Yeah. Also, like, to comment on the personhood of who you're delegating to, there's nothing like the feeling of someone trusting you with something.
Yeah.
And to really sit down with that person when you've identified the who, what, and the when, and to say, hey, I trust you, and I'm excited to work with you, and I really believe that you are the person for the job. As the recipient of that, like, that is, like, awesome. Especially when I was working with basically teenagers, and they were being told, like, that was the first time they were ever being told, I trust you with this responsibility, and you are the person for the job. Like,
right.
That is such a pivotal thing for young people. But the reality is like, even if you're 50 years old, if you're being delegated something and being told that you are the person for the job, like, there's something special that, like, people feel valued. And valuing your team is arguably maybe top 5 most important things that you can do, is valuing your team and making sure that they know that they are valued.
Yeah. And as the leader overseeing the leaders that you're delegating to, yes, there's going to be frustrating moments. There's going to be moments that you scratch your head and you go, how the heck did you miss that? But I promise you that that person that wants to be in that role, when they make a mistake, they're going to be more frustrated about that mistake and want to perseverate on that more than you as the owner. And you have to remind yourself that, which means you have to go in and talk to them and again, have the humility of, I made that mistake as well. But the big thing is that we don't continuously make that mistake, that we progress from it. And that's what leadership is about, that you own it. And I think of all the NFL coaches and all the good NFL players that are good leaders, at the end of a lot, there can be a blatant play in the game that had nothing to do with that player, and they go in the presser and they go, that loss is on me. Well, I'm pretty sure the field goal kicker just missed that by 30 yards.
Right.
But they go, no, that was on me. It doesn't come down to one play. I didn't perform the best that I could. I could have prepped better. I could have led my team better. But they take that on because stepping into that role means that you're willing to take those things on. But what do they do with that? They go back and they put in more work in order to not make those same mistakes and to get their whole team better with that. So know that when you are delegating, there's frustrating points to it. There's things that are going to be missed, but if you have the right person in the role, they're going to take the ownership for that. And then our role is to make sure that they don't perseverate on it too much. And they don't get into this mentality of like that they stink. that they're not cut out for this position, that they're not capable of doing it. No, you are in that position because we saw all the things that said that you were a right fit for it, and because you wanted it. Don't let this one little mistake, this one little nope that you face completely derail you from the hope that is there.
I also want to just give a little shout out to Julia too, because having the humility to ask this question is honestly like the first step in this process of utilizing the tips that we're providing, because like you could just hear these tips and be like, no, just not, I don't you know, she said, I need help. You could hear the tips and be like, yeah, I actually don't need help. But, like, you have the humility saying, like, no, you do need help. And I hope that this has been helpful for you.
Yeah. Yes.
Will you dive into your hope story? I've been so excited because you teed it up last episode. At the beginning of this episode, I mentioned that we answer listeners' questions. And if you have one, please share. But we also share hope stories at the end of each episode to leave you with a little extra hope. And typically they're experiences that we have, but we always love to share experiences that other people have shared with us when they share hope stories with us. So even if you have a hope story, we'd love to hear that. So you can also go to our website, hopenotnope.org, and you can ask us a question and share a hope story.
Yeah. Seek and you will find.
Yeah.
I think we're in a world of nopes, but when you seek hope and you hear of hope, it can kind of fuel you up a little bit to keep pressing on and keep moving forward. So I've shared this story, I don't know how many times now, but I think it's as of now, my favorite story of 2026.
Okay.
So last episode, we talked about being down at a conference in Tampa Bay, a Catholics Men's Conference. And one of the core group of men that put this on was sharing a story with me because we got talking about football, and he ended up being a Broncos fan. And I'm a Chiefs fan, and there's a little bit of a rivalry there. So we were just joking around, and we got talking, and he shared with me that he was no longer able to support Denver after how they treated Tim Tebow. That it wasn't right of how they handled the situation. It wasn't right how they treated him. And it's just no human should be treated like that. Well, this individual is also part of the military that took down the Berlin Wall.
Wow.
And during this process of Tim Tebow being mistreated by the Broncos, this individual sent him a piece of the Berlin Wall.
Wow.
And wrote him a letter that, paraphrasing, but basically said, these barriers aren't meant to stay forever. These walls are meant to come down. Justice will be served.
Wow.
Like, keep going, keep doing what you're doing, keep glorifying God. Just let this serve you as a reminder of that. And the reason this fits so well with this episode is delegating responsibilities and roles is hard. And it's difficult when you are the leader of a core group, like Tim Tebow as a quarterback is with that. And you delegate, and then you go back and you work hard and you lead and you do all these things. And there can be frustrations. And sometimes it takes other leaders that are doing well, that it wasn't delegated to them by their work to go above and beyond and pick you up. But because they're so obedient to what's being asked of them, they step out of the work responsibilities and step into the serving responsibilities and say, hey, I may not get anything back from this. I hope that he actually receives this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I just imagine Tim Tebow going through that struggle and going through all this hate mail and then opening up this one letter.
Yeah.
And how much that means to an individual that's going through that. So, yeah, shout out to that individual that sent that. I won't share names to protect him, but oh, such a heartwarming.
So heartwarming. And shout out to Tim Tebow. Like, what a guy.
Right?
What a guy. Like, I love following his career and what he's accomplished for the greater glory of God and God's kids. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah.
I
Thank him for sharing that with us and for being courageous to do all the things that he did, to be part of the military group that took down the Berlin Wall, to even have a piece to be able to send that, and then being able to stand for what's right Like there's so many stories of courage and doing the right thing and just pure righteousness that this individual is and has is incredible.
I love it.
Yes. High performer.
High performer.
High performer. Well, have a great week.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. If you are listening, we consider you a high performer.
Yeah.
We know that we all have stuff to work on, but the fact that you're taking time out of your week to listen to this and get strategies and identify with hope and being able to push through the nopes to reach your highest potential, like that makes you a high performer.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Yes. Thank you for listening. Have a great week. And remember, high performance isn't just about using the strategy of hope. It's about becoming hope.
Thank you for listening to the Hope Not Nope podcast. Please subscribe and share this episode. This podcast is for educational and personal development purposes only and is not considered health or medical advice. For personalized support, connect with a Hope Coach at hopenotnope.org.